Joining us now, she's the head coach at Cal State Fullerton, fresh off the NCAA tournament. And of course, now we'll be just got an extension over the offseason. It's a tremendous job over there. And of course, we speak of Kelly Ford joining us here. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Let's talk about, before we talk about this year's team, I got to talk about last year. What a dramatic year for the league, but then for your team as well. Had an incredible season. You make the NCAAs, but it was unique how you got in because you got in as an at-large. When you first look back at last year, what comes to mind?
Well, I tell you what, that was definitely the strongest pre-conference schedule that we have played, and had so many significant wins that I just appreciate the NCAA seeing the body of work that we put in. And let me tell you, I have never been part of a more crazy NCAA postseason selection show, being the second to the last team called, and why we saw all of our West Coast regional spots disappear. We're like, whoa, we're not going there. We're not going there. We're not going there. Are we going? And then finally get the call for Clemson. So it was pretty awesome.
Since you went there, I definitely want to hear this story because for disclosure, obviously, that was a unique weekend. You played Long Beach State. They beat you for the conference title. So now
Yeah.
you've got the quick turnaround for Selection Sunday. UCLA is the first bracket. UCLA and Stanford are going to host. So you're probably thinking, like I was thinking, and everybody's thinking, one of you is going to be in UCLA. The other one's going to be in Stanford. That's,
Yeah.
geography. UCLA pops up. Neither one of you are there. Then they get to Stanford, and Long Beach gets announced. What's going through your mind as you watch the UCLA and the Stanford regionals?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, okay, maybe Washington, maybe Utah, as we're kind of moving across the country. All right, that's interesting. And I was actually happy that Long Beach didn't get sent to UCLA as well, to be honest with you. I think it's just been natural for our conference to get sent over there. So it was nice. Yeah, I was kind of happy for him. And, all respect to Coach Souter and what she does there. She gets them going, and it's always a knockdown drag out with Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach State. And man, they had our number that weekend. And so, I don't like to avoid it. I like to, it's real. This is why we schedule the way we schedule. And I think Kim has the same philosophy that we want a shot, even if we don't win conference. So it happened. So it was great.
So you didn't after the Stanford regional is announced in Long Beach. You're still hoping. You're hoping maybe Washington. At any point as they go through each regional, are you losing hope? Are you like, oh, we're not in? And then
after Utah was announced, I was like, are you kidding me? That's really what I was saying. And I was, doing the numbers with our associate head coach, George Araujo. I'm like, there's less than 25% chance right now, less. And it kept going down and going down and going down. And then, yeah, I had come close to losing hope when the last regional was posted.
I mean, guilty as charged. I thought you were not in at that point. I'm like, I can't believe they're not in, because I had you in my bracketology. So I was already in my mind thinking about arguments, and then my co-host tells me they're in. I'm like, what? They're in Clemson.
Yeah.
Which is the last regional. So
yeah.
Give me that react. Are you paying attention 100% to Clemson? Are you kind of, and then all of a sudden you're there. It's the last, announced there.
Yeah. I tell you what, like I really was like you. I was like, oh my God, what kind of speech am I going to give after this? I didn't see this coming. And we had the president and his wife there, of course, our AD and our team were just on the edge of our seat. Just, we're all telling them we're going, be ready with school, be ready with travel. And I was, like you said, guilty of going, okay, I got to switch gears on my speech. And, I wasn't prepared for that. So when it showed up, we just had a party.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it draining? Was it emotional? What was that like? Because
there was tears, there were screams, there was just, absolute laughter. I don't know if you got to see some video footage of it, but we just exploded. We all had rally towels in our VIP room. It was a really, really one of the best selection show parties that I've been a part of.
Yeah, it's
Just because the element of surprise. When you win conference, you know you're going, so you don't have that anticipation. But when you don't win conference and you put up the numbers, you hope. But as the day went on, it created a lot of, oh crap.
Was it ironic though? Because for years, when we had you on last time, we talked about how, hey, it can be predictable. You always seem to be sent to UCLA or Arizona State.
Yeah.
And here's this. Okay, it's almost like they played a joke on you. Like, oh, you want unpredictability? How about this? Let's send you to
Right.
Clemson. What
Yeah.
was that experience like to play at Clemson? And did you like the fact that it was a different experience for the players? It wasn't the same thing.
Absolutely loved every bit of it, because we rarely go east to play any pre-conference tournaments, because there's so many great tournaments here on the West Coast, with us hosting and with Mary Nutter, and there's just opportunities here. So yeah, I hadn't taken the team to an SEC school, so it was, or an ACC or anything east, really Power 5 wise. So it was a fantastic experience. The travel was a bear. We got delayed. We got moved all over separated into 3 different flights. So that part, we got to stay ahead of and see if we can get our own plane or something. But other than that, the hospitality, just being in a different region, the school was gorgeous. The facility was beautiful, and all in all, thumbs up. Loved it.
And how you mentioned this tough schedule. I mean, I'm going to read off some of the wins you had, because again, that it would have been really a crime if you didn't get in. That's why I think, you beat Ole Miss, you beat Tennessee, you beat Liberties. I mean, you beat UCF. I mean, just talk about that non-conference schedule that
Beating
you picked.
Florida, beating Oregon, beating
Yeah,
Oregon State. I
yeah.
mean, we played 16 Power 5s, and just really competed. Every pitch. We had pitching. We had Micah Sutherland, and she put us in position to win every game she pitched. I mean, she really did. And I think our first 5 weeks, we were really using our speed. And Megan Delgadillo, Antoinette Dean, they were just top of our, as far as statistically, top batting average, but also stolen bases, and they just would cause havoc. So it was the Baylor series. Our center fielder, who was the Big West Player of the year before, goes down with an ACL. So then we're moving Antoinette over to center. 4 days later, she goes down. So truthfully, we had to recreate ourselves, and it took us a while. Here we are, playing all these big dogs and competing and racking up significant wins. Then our top 2 go down, and it was, a surprising blow. Then we have to turn in and start conference, and we're still trying to figure out how we're going to do this without our 2 top offensive performers. And so I would honestly say it took us about a month to get back into a groove and find ourselves and take the pressure off of Micah. And we did. So putting yourself in position to win this Big West Conference, is everybody goes after you. You got a target on your back. So for us to do it again was, I was really proud of this group for different reasons.
I think last year was the most dramatic year I can remember following the Big West. I would watch the games late night. Every week was a battle, and the conference race was a battle with you, Long Beach State, CSUN, and the job Charlotte Morgan has done there. Joe Evans turning around UCSB already. Like, just talk about the league top to bottom. I felt like it's much more parity than it's ever been. Am I accurate there from your perspective there in the battle? Because you got
Absolutely.
two NCAAs and 2 other teams that made the NIC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just really appreciate the drive you named it. Charlotte and Joe have brought to our conference, just elevating the conference just with their mindset. And they want us to get back to multiple teams every year going to postseason play from the Big West. I really think the Big West is looking a lot more, a place to go versus the pack as that is disintegrated. And do you want to go to a conference that travels all over the country, or do you want to stay in the West? And we're that conference that can put that together for those athletes that know, they want to stay on the West Coast to compete so their families can attend. So I don't know. I think we're looking a lot more appealing as a conference. And the parity every weekend, we know going in, it's a knockdown drag out. It really is. And we always get a Big West opponent's A game because we are and we're the standard. And you know I don't take that lightly. So we know going in, it doesn't matter what their record is, they're coming for us and they're coming hard. So we've got to prepare every weekend like it's a regional weekend.
You bring up a great point. Obviously, with everything that's going on with the Pac-12 and realignment, there's, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're as westerly as it gets as a league. You have the
Mm-hmm.
exposure because you still have games every year on linear ESPN, and obviously a lot of the schools have ESPN Plus. Uh, Talk about that exposure helping the league, and is that something as coaches you talk about? Is that kind of a pitch there? Like, hey, look, let's sell the fact for all the West Coast kids and the kids in California and everywhere in the West Coast you could play close to home here now and not have to travel cross country.
Yeah, we absolutely talk about that with every recruit. And we go after the recruits that flourish in front of their parents, in the stands every weekend, because that's not for every athlete. I'd say, there's a good handful on every roster that it's good for them to take off and go across country to school. But we really talk about that with our recruits. Like, okay, is this really good for you to play in front of your family? Because our players, their families are there every weekend because they can be. And even in the fall, we've got our 8 games. We're there's a significant crowd in the stands for our fall games. It's fantastic, and we love that and sell it. And we absolutely, when we're on the road, they get a family night and we get a team night because we preach the importance of that, and it's it's really a pillar in our program. But as far as a conference, I think we all realize that this has changed things for us, and I think you're seeing a lot of transfers come into our conference that have helped elevate our conference. So we just had opening weekend last weekend of recruiting and ran into almost the whole Big West out there. And we're just talking about, this exciting things. We're not, competing against each other yet. We're like, hey, how many transfers did you get? How many did you get? And are they making an impact? And just kind of, seeing what everybody's squad's going to be like. So it's friendly right now.
You mentioned that. And I'm glad you bring that up because obviously, we had Kim Souter on the show. Have I mean, Fullerton and Long Beach to me is one I always circle every year. It's a big series. Usually, conference championship implications are on the line. Great atmospheres, but yet you two are great friends. Like you have shared hosting tournaments together. Just talk about that competitive side, but yet you've all helped each other be successful otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I want her to win every single game until they play us. And that's real. We're watching, we're tracking and looking at their schedule and going, oh man, they put together another, great RPI. And I applaud those coaches that, have it have the guts to play top teams. And I understand that it's not everybody's philosophy in their athletic department that they want to elevate the RPI, but we talk about it as coaches all the time, and much respect for Coach Souter and what she has done. And yeah, we sit when we're recruiting, sit behind home plate and just talk about everything. Softball and non-softball. I think she is just a fantastic person, and just applaud what she's done there.
You guys have one of the best coaching rooms, I think, in any conference, with the resumes of a lot of the coaches in the league, yourself included, with Coach Souter, Coach Joe Evans, now in the league with UCSB, Charlotte Morgan, what she's done,
Yeah.
UC Davis. Talk about that coaches room and what you all discuss. with the league. I know there's a conference tournament on the horizon within the next year or so. That's going to be big for the league. Just your over thoughts about all you as coaches there, because that's a pretty good room of coaches.
Yeah. Well, I think we are all very appreciative of our um, conference, honestly, and our ability to create strong schedules out of conference just because of our location. And so for us, and many of our conference opponents do have football, but for us, that is something that we appreciate. Not everybody loves college football and what that brings. For Cal State Fullerton, for our experience, it elevates the experience for the student athletes because the baseball, softball, soccer's, they are the football of Cal State Fullerton. And it's something that is, I guess we're just really respected. And our administration and our athletic director, he has high expectations. There's not a meeting that I have with him that he doesn't talk about Oklahoma City. But I know our conference coaches just really, really appreciate our location and our ability to schedule like we can schedule. And there's just there's a dance with that scheduling because you want to create confidence for your team so you can't go out and play every Power Five every weekend because you got to get on a roll. You got to get momentum started. So it really is a puzzle to fit in those Power Fives because you want to challenge your team, but also you want to build that confidence and get on a winning streak. And that's always something that is I struggle with. And last year, I don't know, we figured it out thanks to Micah Sutherland.
It was figured it out. Now, as you get into this fall, what's been the message to this team after the success you had and what you accomplished last year? What's been the message?
I tell you what, we are on we create a really competitive environment. Right now, as I'm talking to you, they're inter squad scrimmaging and we're too deep every position. And they know that athlete that they're training with is not their opponent. That is their teammate. And together they are making that position better. And there's an element of just competitive greatness that they get to the point where, man, if she's going to dive on this ball, I'm going to dive a little bit further. And I'm seeing that a lot earlier because sometimes you see, I want her to go down. So I've got this spot locked in. But I am seeing they I'm seeing more appreciation for the competitiveness. I would say we're deeper. We're faster. We're deeper in the lineup. We have more depth defensively, offensively. We've got 6 pitchers, and it's going to be fun to see who rises. I think Haley Rainey is going to be one that is just going to do some damage in the conference, and then we'll see who our number 2 and our number 3 is, and we know how important that is. But I guess the message is new year. We have a strong senior leadership class, and we're really it's a player led program, so we've put a lot of responsibility on them. You guys set the tone. We're building on last year, so yeah, I guess those are my thoughts.
Well, you mentioned the pitching because you're going to get asked a lot about it between now and February because of Sutherland, obviously the great legacy she left, Big West pitcher of the year. You mentioned Rainey returning; she was like all conference pitcher. Does that help? Do you have an experienced pitcher coming back that's been that's had success leading this staff as you figure out the rest of the arms there?
We do. And I don't have her numbers right in front of me, but she logged in over 100 innings with a stellar, ERA. This kid's good. She just she got better every game, whether she was in it or not. Her mentality was special. She wasn't, why aren't I pitching 2 out of 3 like Micah? I'm putting up good numbers, coach. She knew the impact Micah made, and she just was a sponge with Micah's knowledge. And I'm so impressed with her because she she could have got the same innings as Micah. Micah being a senior and just really saying, "Hey, team, get on my back." I think Rainey just appreciated her leadership and is stepping right in.
Offensively, you return players like Hannah Becerra and company there, but you do lose some personnel. Talk about your offense, how you feel about them.
Well, I'm feeling good that Megan Delgadillo will be back. She is way ahead of schedule on recovering from her ACL, and she's out here every day, even though she's not fully released yet. And just her presence is powerful. She's kind of taken the lefties under her wing and showing them the way, whether it's in the outfield or up at the plate. She's a coach herself, so it's fun to watch her work. But I think she feels a lot more support as far as players like her with speed, with triple threat. They can hit away, they can drop it down, they can bounce it. There's several of those on our roster, and really excited about that part of it. Yes, we have some likely suspects with some returning upperclassmen for that gap to gap power and that RBI potential. And what I'm seeing is we have a new hitting coach, Jamie Juarez, and she has really brought a light atmosphere into our program. And the players have said, they're really having fun with hitting. And I think she's making a huge impact along with Gina Oaks Garcia. One of our alumni. Is funny because the two of them played in the same era, both All-Americans, both have played internationally, both have played in the pro level. They played on the same team and competed against each other. So they came in seasoned. I couldn't be happier, with my coaching staff. And so what's going on is our players know that there's a clean slate and they've got to impress Coach G and Coach J. And they are, it's really awesome to see.
Who are your leaders on this team, either vocally or just lead by example with their production or by how they come out and be ready to play?
We had a meeting with our mental training coach this morning, and what happens is our Zach Sorensen is his name. He's the mental training coach for the Atlanta Braves. He's under Brian Kane's umbrella. Just fantastic information. And he met with the seniors today first, and we've kind of turned it over to the seniors. And so the outspoken Bailey, Wallace, Kika, Ramirez, Peyton Toto, Hannah Becerra, Megan Delgadillo. Well, Stacy's a junior now. Sav, our Favre, one of our transfers. There's just a really good group, and they want to be better leaders, and it's work. It is, I guess, in the past, maybe we've had some great leaders when they were playing the way they wanted to play. Now this group is really being accountable for, whatever our role is as far as that starting lineup goes. I want to be a leader on this team. I don't want my batting average to be, a leader for me. I'm going to lead through the good and the bad. And so it's really been powerful to watch. So that group of seniors is just on point.
You mentioned Favre. She's among the new faces on the team. She came over from UTEP. A kid I'm intrigued by is Kobe McClinton. A kid was a Pac West Player of the Year in Biola. I mean, following D2 and covering that, so I was like, wow, that's a big pickup. Just talk about some of the new faces and what you expect them how to contribute.
Yeah, Sav and her, she's proven. If you look at her offensive numbers, that's why we went after her. She is just very mature at the plate. She is, again, I think what she's got long ball power or potential, but gap to gap, just seeing what she can do with that stick is pretty impressive. Colby's fast. Colby is athletic. We've got her playing a few different positions in the infield, and within week one, we were like, can she make that jump to D1? Absolutely. There's no doubt. She's a D1 contributor, and she may play a little bit of everywhere, but boy, it's fun to watch her. And then we've got a freshman, Sarah Perez, pushing the envelope in the infield. She was a PGF All-American shortstop. boy, she's one that's a lot like Cheese. She's got that great bat control and speed and can set the table, steal the bags, and take care of the ball on defense. So, those are some real standouts to me right now.
It is. You mentioned the two new assistants, obviously, what they bring to the table. What has that been like to kind of have them in the mold there and on part of the staff now? As you mentioned, on All Americans, the resume speaks for itself. I love it. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, the funny story on each of them, Coach George and I, and Coach George is our associate head coach, and I think I've been here 1 month longer than he has. So it's really the two of us that have built this. And you also know he's the head coach of the Mexican national team. So getting that 2028 news was huge for him. And he's about to leave for a big tournament with Lexi, our catcher, to go compete in. But we went after both Gina and Jamie numerous times in our 12 years together. I mean, probably each at least 3 times went after them at different times. And the thing that's great about them is they can do hitting, they can do pitching, they can do defense. So that's what makes it. I actually brought Jamie on right away after I knew Thule was only going to be here for 2 years, and she's fantastic. Cal got a huge pickup with bringing her on board, but I knew she was only going to be here 2 years. So right away, we went after Jamie again, but I brought her in as a pitching coach. Well, then as the summer progressed and Curly was getting, interviews and I was like, okay, I got to brace for this. She's going to get picked up. And, actually Gina was at a camp because her son was at the baseball camp. Her daughter was at the softball camp. And I said, let's talk. I'm coming after you again. And I said, what would you want to do? Offense or pitching? She's like, pitching. So I call up Jamie. I'm like, hey, are you okay with, running the hitting instead of pitching? She's like, absolutely, whatever you need. So that's what's so powerful about them. One, their maturity. Two, their versatility, and they work together great. They're on the phone talking about, things that we need to make adjustments on, and I'm totally okay with them not involving me. I've just said, you guys, man, your experience, and go for it. You want to make a change, make it. Tell me about it later.
That's
I
tremendous.
just trust. Yeah, just
It's
trust
good
them.
trust. Speaking with Kelly Ford here on In the Circle. Big West tournament's going to come around in about a year or so from that. Do you like the addition of the conference tournament for the Big West? I know part of the motivation in talking to coaches is that it helps increase the chances of being a multi-bid league more consistently. What's your thoughts on this league having a conference tournament and the adjustments that come with that?
I'm all in now. Up to the vote, I was not. You know, for many reasons. But now that, this is what the coaches want, this is what the conference has voted on. So now I'm all in. And I think it's going to be a fantastic experience for the players and prep the teams that are going to NCAAs. I think it's going to be really competitive, kind of do or die right before regionals, which is awesome. Prior to it getting voted on, obviously, I looked at it as, okay, the first thing we have to do as a conference is raise our RPI. So I don't want a team going into the Big West Conference and their RPI going down and actually their opportunities being taken away from postseason play. So I had kind of that mentality, to be honest with you. And we obviously had some good luck winning it the last 5 out of 7, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and so obviously, and my colleagues would call me and go, Kelly, I get why you don't want a conference tournament. If I was in your spot, I wouldn't want it either. I mean, half of the conference called me with that. But again, I think it is going to be a great experience for the student athletes. And I agree that it will make, by weekend 3, if you have a shot of winning conference or not. Well, now you still get to play for that, being in the top 6 in that bid. And I think that will make the conference more competitive and make each weekend continue to count for every team as we get to that halfway point of conference play. So I'm all in now.
plus the exposure that comes with it, which, committees are watching all the time. I mean, that could also play a factor.
Yeah, there's
Did
one other piece that I've served on the All American and the All Region committee, and we're always the last conference to put our Big West Pitcher of the Year, our Big West or Player of the Year up, because we're waiting on that last weekend and we want all the stats. Well,
great
the
point.
other conferences have already put them up, and they're getting all that social media exposure. So our Big West players get, honestly hit on their ability to get those awards because the voting's already started and we still haven't picked.
That's a great point. You're
So
playing a week behind. You're a week
yes,
behind. That's a great point. I didn't think of that.
yeah. So it's going to be good all the way around.
Obviously, as someone there is in Fullerton, California, what's reaction to softball in the Olympics in Los Angeles 2028? That's going to be pretty exciting times for the West Coast.
It's just, we were elated. And then, of course, because Coach Arajo is, the national team coach. So we were, of course, happy for USA and happy for Coach George, and just a lot of, and then our coaches have all played internationally. We had great conversations. And Lexi Lopez, who's a fantastic catcher, is traveling, she's in the circuit. So yeah, just real excitement there. It's huge.
I mean, you're the California resident that I know well. Do you have a recommendation where if somebody in the Olympics said, "Hey, where should we play the softball games in California?"
Oh, absolutely.
uh,
And I'm looking at it right now.
I
I'm
knew it.
looking at the field right now.
I knew it. I was just waiting for confirmation, Coach. That's what I was waiting. I had a feeling that would
Why
be the
not?
answer.
And you're
Fullerton,
not
right?
the first person who
Right.
has
I
mentioned that.
I did
So
think of you. I did think of you as first among the list of people I would reach out to as far as potentially hosting the softball game. Because nothing against previous Olympics and listen, hosting the baseball stadium and all that, but this would be cool if the softball was held in a softball facility.
yes, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, I agree. And I actually got the call from Coach Gramacki. Michelle Gramacki called. She's like, let's wait till Monday. Let's see. And then let's go to work. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll help you make the pitch. We'll make you have the pitch. Let us know what we got to do
Thank
on
you.
that. All right. We're going to let you go on this last question. As you go through the rest of this fall and then the season starts,
Mhm.
what are some of the keys for this team to accomplish and continue the momentum from last year, but even accomplish more that you all want?
I without sounding like a cliche, just having intent and keeping that intent, and not letting the ups and downs of a season change that. It's everybody's on board when you're winning. When you're 50-50, usually 50-50, half of your team is all in, the starters. But I think the real key this year is going to be our non-starters and our role players just staying completely present and staying ready. Because there's one thing I know, change happens, and that starting lineup that hits the field this fall or day one on February 9th is going to be very different in May. So I think that you know that's what I would really like to see. And that's what I'm really focusing on, having that intent and keeping that intent, and, elevating this program through just simply competing every pitch, no matter what your role is.
You signed a 3-year extension over the off season there, and I could still tell in your voice, just like the last time you were on, there's no timetable here. You still got a lot left to go in coaching, don't you? You're not slowing down anytime soon.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's keep it going. I love this place, and such a great game. And to be honest with you, the athletes keep me young. At least keep me up to date with the good music.
The music, yes, that's the go-to. I can sympathize with that. That's all I talk to the players now is what do you got on your ear right now you're listening to?
Yeah.
But that's the goal. But Coach, always a pleasure to get you on the show and talk to you on many topics, not just your team, but obviously the whole sport. Always a fan. Thanks for talking to us, and congrats again on the success last year, making the NCAA as dramatic as it was, and looking forward to seeing what your team will do this upcoming season. Thanks for always talking to us.
Thank you for always having me on, and have a great rest of your day.